Welcome back to Ink and Ivy Studios. Tonight, we journey into the warmth of faded summers and salt-touched memories with a scrapbook spread I've titled Sunwashed Memories. For this piece, I wanted to create something deeply nostalgic, a page that feels unearthed rather than assembled, like a forgotten postcard discovered between the pages of an old traveler's journal. The inspiration came from coastal road trips, vintage camper vans, golden evening skies, and those fleeting summer moments that somehow remain with us long after the season has passed. There is something timeless about vintage camper imagery. It carries a sense of freedom, quiet adventure, and slow living that feels increasingly rare. I wanted this spread to capture that atmosphere, not simply the look of summer, but the feeling of it, the warmth of the air at sunset, the sound of waves somewhere in the distance, the glow of roadside lights as evening settles in. The foundation of this layout was created using the beautiful Summer Breeze Campers Club collection by Polly's Prints. Throughout the spread, I layered washi tape, stickers, and embellishments to build softness, texture, and depth while preserving that dreamy pastel atmosphere. When beginning the composition, I spent quite a bit of time deciding how I wanted the page to flow visually. I knew immediately that I wanted the camper imagery to become the focal point of the spread, almost like the centerpiece of a memory frozen in time. Everything else around it was designed to support that feeling without overpowering it. At the center of the composition, I placed the vintage camper imagery against a darkened night scene, created using JUNESIX retro ink in the shade jet black, combined with metallic silver craft ink. I wanted the darker background to resemble an evening sky illuminated by distant stars. To enhance the atmosphere further, I added a few dots and highlighted parts of the van by using a silver metallic pen. These tiny details may seem subtle at first glance, but they help create movement and depth throughout the page. As the metallic elements catch the light, they give the spread a slightly cinematic glow that changes depending on the viewing angle. One of my favorite parts of the creative process was distressing the page and building layered textures around the camper imagery. I tore sections of inked paper intentionally to create roughness and imperfection. I never want my scrapbook pages to feel overly polished. Real memories are rarely perfect, and I think that slight sense of wear gives a layout more authenticity and emotion. To achieve this weathered and time-worn effect, I used JUNESIX retro ink in the shade Poppy Red. The deeper tones beneath the softer pinks help anchor the composition while adding warmth and visual intensity. I loved the contrast between the faded pastel palette and the richer, moodier undertones beneath it. Across the spread, I layered floral clusters, coastal imagery, and carefully placed decorative details to guide the eye naturally through the page. I wanted every section to reveal something new the longer you look at it. Whether that's a hidden texture, a subtle color transition, or a small embellishment tucked into the background. One aspect I particularly enjoyed was balancing softness against contrast. The pastel tones create calmness and nostalgia, while the darker evening elements introduce atmosphere and depth. Together, they create a visual story that feels gentle yet emotionally layered. For the background blending and color transitions, I worked with craft ink pads in shades of pink, green, and orange. I softly blended these colors into one another to mimic the appearance of a fading sunset sky. The gradual transitions help keep the page cohesive while still allowing individual elements to stand out. As the layout developed, I found myself thinking a lot about how color can influence emotion within art journaling and scrapbooking. Softer colors tend to evoke comfort and warmth, while darker shades introduce mystery and reflection. Combining the two allowed this page to feel both peaceful and cinematic at the same time. To complete the finer details, I added orange tinted gems and pearl décor stickers throughout the composition. These embellishments catch the light beautifully and create gentle movement and dimension across the page without overwhelming the artwork itself. I also intentionally varied the placement of the embellishments, so the eye continues traveling naturally around the spread. In scrapbook design, even the smallest details can influence how a page feels overall. Texture, layering, spacing, and lighting all work together to create atmosphere. What I love most about Sunwashed Memories is the emotion it carries. It feels reflective and comforting, almost like revisiting an old memory that has softened over time. The spread captures that strange beauty of remembering something imperfectly, where colours fade slightly, edges blur, and only the feeling truly remains. The title felt especially fitting because the entire layout carries that faded golden warmth, the feeling of looking back on summers that now seem almost dreamlike in memory. I think many of us hold on to small moments without even realizing it at the time. A quiet drive near the coast, the warmth of evening air through an open window, music playing softly somewhere in the background. This page became my attempt to preserve those fragments before they disappear completely. That, ultimately, is what I love most about scrapbooking and art journaling. It allows us to hold on to emotion in a physical form, to preserve atmosphere, memory, and feeling long after moments themselves have passed. Thank you for joining me for another quiet moment of creativity, storytelling, and nostalgia. Until our next creation. This has been Elias, the keeper of ink and ivy.